Hello guys, today we are going to the movie review. Movie name is Hate Crime 2012. Overview title Hate Crime Year 2012 premiered at Poly Brit Film Festival. Director, writer, producer James Cullen Brasak, genre found footage horror thriller, runtime 71 to 72 minutes, language English, status released on DVD in October 2013, rating not rated, contains very disturbing content, basic plot. A newly arrived Jewish family records their youngest child's birthday party when three drugs-crazed neo-Nazi intruders break into their home. The rest of the film is filmed in a found footage style as the attackers terrorize and fortune the family is horrific way, tunes and style. The film is not sort of found footage, handheld, chaotic and meant to feel like real home video which adds to the raw, uncomfortable atmosphere. It's meant to blur the line between horror film and social commentary on hate-motivated violence. Critical response. Professional review. The film is very divisive. It has a very low audience rating, around 2.8 on some streaming site and limited critical coverage due to its extreme subject matter and India release. A critics review notes some effective performance and real-time production feel but criticize poor writing and question whether the director chose the right approach for the film's message. Audience and online impressions. Audience reaction are mixed to negative, positive or neutral points. Some viewers mention the found footage style can recreate tension once you adjust to the filming technique. Some find the film unsettling and realistic, filling with effect, psychology, horror elements. Common criticism from viewers include low production quality, shaky camera, bad audience, rogue action. Positive or natural points from viewers mention the found footage style can create tension once you adjust to the filming technique. Some find the film unsettling and realistic, filling with effective psychology horror elements. Common criticism from viewers include low production quality, shaky camera, bad audio, raw acting, unconvincing villains, and script. Some see the neo-Nazi as cartoonistic, extreme, or poorly developed violence without depth. Some reviewers say it feels like shock value without deeper plot twist or characters development. Overall, IMDb user score in around 4.0 on indicating general dislikes or indifference. Controversy and bans. The film was refused classification in the UK, meaning it cannot he released there on video on demand, largely due to its disturbing context and deflecting to fortune. To is it worth watching? That's depend on what you are looking for. If you like extreme, unsettling horror, real-time found footage film, hard to watch, psychologically disturbing movies, you might and find something inserting here. Thought many feel is poorly executed. If you prefer tight storytelling where developed characters, quality, production, and cinematography, this film likely won't satisfy and has been criticized for feeling like a low-budget, soft-focused project with limited narrative depth. Bottom line summary: stern, gritty, raw footage found footage style attempts to tackle hate, motivation, violence, weakness, and amateurish production quality, unconvincing script and characters, heavy on shock value or storytelling, mixed on negative audience reception, general audience rating 4 on IMDb, audience rating on some platforms stay 2.8 on. Alright, let's go deeper into hate crime. 2012, this movie isn't just bad or good, it's uncomfortable by design, and that's why it sparks so much debate. Hate crime 2012 in-depth review what the film is really trying to do. This is not a traditional horror movie. This no mystery, no monster reveal, no twist ending. The director's goal is simple and brutal. Make the viewers feel helpless, trapped, and sick. Some victims or of hate violence feels that's why the camera never skips away. Violence feels random and pointless. There's no heroic resistance, there's no cathartic revenge. It's meant to feel like watching a real crime tale, not entertainment. Found footage strength or weakness. Why it works for some people, this sadness feels real, the attackers feel unpredictable, the fear feels raw and unscripted. Why it works some people, the sickness feels real. This is why some viewers say it doesn't feel like a movie, it feels legal to watch. Why it fails for money, camera work is attempt to shooting audience is messy, scans track without progression, no visual variety, some rooms, some angles. For many it across the lines from realism into frustration, villains why they feel do. So disturbing the new Nazis in the film rare, not clever, not charismatic, not symbolic villains. There is a sound as track addicted, loud, fuel for no reasons, empty and stupid. This is intentional, no The movie suggests hate crimes are not committed by mastermind but by broken, hateful nobodies. However, critics argue they are ones not no psychology or backstory feel like shocky tools, not character. Violence and controversy. Let's be clever. This film is not fun horror. It's not suspense driven. It's not entertainment focused. Violence is long when scripted, emotionally exhausting, lacks payoff. That's exactly why UK reviews to classify it. Many horror fans hate it. Some call it torture porn without style. Others argue real crimes don't have style either. Story and ending explained without spoilers. There is no traditional ending, no lesson is spoken, no justice is delivered, no emotional closure. The film just ends. This is intentional and deeply upsetting because it reflects real hate crimes, real victims, real injustice. If you expect moral clarity, narrative resolution, emotional release, this movie feels empty and cruel themes hidden under the brutality. If you strip away the ugliness, the film is about how random hate violence is, how powerless victims feel, how society consumes real suffering as content, how cameras don't protect anyone. Ironically, the viewers, become part of the problem. You are watching. You can't help, you can't stop it. Acting and production. Let's be honest, acting and unwritten dialogues feel improvised. Production quality is very low, but some performances feel disturbingly real, especially the family members because they not overacted compared to Smile Fans film difference. Funny games, more intelligent, controlled. The Stranger stylized suspense-driven martyrs, philosophically brutality, hate crime, raw, ugly, purposeless violence. This is the ugliest of them all intentionally. Who would never watch this? If you hate found footage, if you want a story, if extreme cruelty affects you deeply, if you watch movie to relax, final verdict. This is not a bad movie in the usual sense. It's a deliberately unpleasant experience as art debatable, as entertainment almost zero, as social commentary brutally honest but clumsy, rating personal style, execution 2.551, impact 451, rewatch value 051. Alright, let's go even further down the habit hole. This movie has layers people usually don't talk about. Hate crime to 2012 deep analysis, directors and intent. Why this film exists, James Cullen Bracek has said in interviews and festival talks that the movie was never meant to be liked. His goal was to create small discomfort, to punish his viewers emotionally, to show how cinema itself can exploit suffering. That's why there's no background music, no cinematic lighting, no characters arcs, no payoff. The film asks, why do you need this to be entertaining? The camera as a weapon. The camera isn't neutral. In this film, it's become a witness, a quad, and accomplice. The film family keeps familiar because it gives a false sense of control. They believe consummation safety. They hope some will see it later, but the movie message is cruel. Recording violence doesn't stop violence. That's why the camera never saves anyone. Why the movie feels pointless. Most horror gives you cues, effects, visualization. This film gives you random curiosity, more curiosity, abrupt and that intentionally realism. Real hate crimes don't have narrative logic, don't escalate properly, don't reward bravery, don't punish evil in crimes. The lack of structure in is the statement. Why horror fans hate this film? Even extreme horror fans reject hate crime. Why? It breaks horror rules. No tension build up, no visual creativity, no violence mythology, no emotional rhythms. It denies pleasure. No scars, no gore spectacle, no suspension, no release. Many viewers feel angry, no scarred, and confused. That anger with bad filmmaking, it's, is it explosions or honestly, this is the biggest debate. Critics say uses this suffering as shock, lacks non-exposed trauma without insight. Defenders say hate crimes are ugly and announced sanitizing them boldly. Dishonest comfort loudly. This disrespectful. The film sits uncomfortably between exposing brutality and repeating it, and it never clearly. There's a child UK when explained important the British Board of Film Classification RBFC refused classification because too long this sadistic violence, no narrative justification, no moral frameworks, no distancing from abuse. It in simple words, the movie doesn't tell you how to feel and that scarred them psychology effect on viewers. Many people report feeling dirty after watching, leading to stop halfway, anger at directors, emotionally exhaustion. This isn't accidental. The film is structured to simulate trauma, long takes, no escapes, receptions, helplessness, small details people miss. Attackers mock religions not with intelligence but stupidity. Hate doesn't need logic. Violence escalates without reason. Curiosity feeds itself. Silence after screams. Realism, no drama, no score. Removes emotional guidance. If you compare it to funny games, intelligent meta, controlled curiosity, lecture, the audience, hate crime, Dune, chaotic, meaningless cruelty, punished audience. Funny games talks about violence, hate crimes, force you inside it. Why some call it anti-horror, this movie excessively reject entertainment, enjoyment, horror random expectation is closer to a social experiment, a provocation, a cinematic endurance test, final verdict. This film is technically weak, narratively empty, emotional, abusive, but also unforgettable, brutally honest, morally confrontation. It asks but one brutal question: if this really happens, why should it be watchable legacy? Almost no rewatch value, rarely recommended, often banned or burned, but still discussed because it hurts. So guys, told you comment, you tell in comment what you expect this movie. So I know your Red Crime 2010 Ultra Deep Breakdown. Why the movie feels emotionally pure. Most films guide your emotions. Music tells you when to feel sad. Editing tells you when to feel scared. Story tells you when to feel hope. Hate crimes remove all guidance. You are left alone with raw screaming, long silence, random brutality, no emotional roadmap. The cues viewers anxiety, not cinematic fear. That's why people say I didn't feel scared, I felt trapped. The films as a test of the viewers. This movie scarcely asks why are you still watching? At what point do you turn it off? Do you need meanings to justify suffering? It witnessing violence, passive violence. If you finished it, the film has already used you. Mirror effects, the viewers versus the camera. There are two silent characters. The camera you neither intervenes, neither can help, neither stop the violence. That parallels is intentional. The film subtly excuses the audience. You are no different from the lens. That education is why people hate the movie, not because it's violent, but because it blames the watcher. Why there is no characters development is normal films. Characters grow, they learn, they resist, they matter. Here everyone is static, no one earns survivals, no bravery is rewarded because hate crimes don't select victims based on characters. The movie refused to romanticize victimhood, violence without spectacle, important details. This is not gore focused. There's very little stylized blood, no glue, no slow motion violence, no dramatic framing. In fragment, this makes it feel worse, no better. Your brain still fills in the blanks. Why it feels longer than it is. Runtime 72 minutes feel like 2 hours, while long straight takes no pacing variation, no narration relief, no tonal shift. Psychology, the brain perceives underslowed streaks as longer time than trauma simulation. Ethical question: this film rises, no, is it scary but shouldn't the kind of movie exist at all? Agreemental against exploits real world suffering, criminalize victims, offer no insight or healing arguments for scientists, inciting or playing agreement for sanitized violence is dishonest. Comfort is sorry guys, continue with me. I so guys, alright, we are officially in nothing left unexplored territory now. Let's peel the last layer of hate crimes to tell is the parts people almost never articulate but still feel hate crime 2012. Finally, we analyze this why the film has no emotionally heresy. In most movies, children are protected innocence has fate. Certain characters matter more. This film refuses heresy. Everyone suffering the same way. Everyone is disposable. No life framed as more tragic than other. This mirrors real hate crimes. Hate doesn't rank victims, it erases them. That's why the film feels so cold. It's done is emotionally. Favoritism, prime time as psychology told you. Notice how the movie never tells you what time it is, how long it's been, when help might come. Time dissolve. This is intentional. Victims in real trauma often report loss of time perception, endless no sense of future. The movie traps you in permanent present. Why the film avoids backstory completely, no origin story, no way they hate, no social explanation because once you explain hate you risk justifying it. The film's position hate doesn't need reason, it only needs permission. That's uncomfortable for viewers who want cues and solution. The attackers are intentionally boring. They are not charismatic, they are not clever, they are not cinematic violence, they are repetitive, loud, stupid, empty. That's the point. The movie says evil is often unimpressive and that's scary than genius villains. Why the films refuse cinematic beauty, no good lighting, no nice framing, no visual symbolism, beauty bold distance the viewers makes violence watchable, turn pain into art. The director actively sabotage aesthetic. No avoid that. This is why people say it feels unfinished. It's anti-polished by design. The movie as a moral deed and most socially useful films after awareness, hope, change, sound bombing. This one offers nothing. Why? Because many hate crimes and with no justice, no lesson, no redemption. The film mirrors that moral vacuum. You live with anger, confusion, emptiness. The emptiness is the message why silence is more important than violence. The most disturbing moments aren't the screams, they are long pause, breathing, shuffling sounds, camera shaking with no action, silence. Force your brain to imagine. That's why people remember this movie without remembering scans clearly. It lives as a feelings, not image. Audience reaction is part of the film. This movie only works after you watch it online. Arguments anger at directors, calling it pointless, calling it evil, all of that is continuation, not failure. The film survives thought, discomfort, not appreciation. Why it will never be a cult classic. Cult films are rewatchable, quotable, enjoyable on some level. This film is emotionally toxic, not repeatable, social, existing. No one say let's watch hate crime again, and this qualifies it from cult status. What this film accidentally reveals more than hate crimes, it reveals how much viewers need structure, how badly we want meaning, how uncomfortable we are with randomness, how cinema usually protects us. This movie refused protection. Finally, psychologically take. If horror usually asks what if it happened, this movie asks what if nothing come after. No justice, no aftermath, no processing, just absence. That's why it lingers. Ultimate verdict, no filters. This film is not enjoyable, not refined, not recommendable, but it is emotionally honest, morally unconfrontation, psychologically effective. It doesn't want fans, it wants witness. One line truth. Hate Crime 2012 is the movie you get. It's a movie you survive. Alright, last time we went psychology plus moral. Now let's take it to the sociology, cinematic, and philosophy. And it's the stop film. Student argues about 8 2 a.m. 8 crime 2012. Beyond the film, this movie works like a case study, not cinema. If if you look at it academically, hate crimes behave less like a movie and more like a forensic records. A trauma simulation, a sociology documents it reviews plot satisfaction, emotionally arcs, symbolic clarity. That's why traditional film criticism struggle with it. Doesn't follow cinema's contract will with the audience by censorship hate. These films, most banned films are banned for too much too much gore, political provocation. This one was rejected because it presents prolonged cruelty without framing censoriously on context no, to justify disturbing material punishment of evil. Moral sustenance, hate crimes offer one, which means the viewers must do the world, moral works themselves, institution hate that the movie versus the idea of responsibility art there's an unspoken rules art that show suffering soul often inside this film's violence that rules it doesn't explain hatred, humanize preparations for healing, provide prevention. It simply says this happens, hit with it. That makes people furious because it denies a useless why the film feels like a association, subtle but important. The attackers enjoy powers. The camera records. The viewers consumes three rules. One saying the film quietly asks it's watching violence different from enjoying power over it. That's deeply uncomfortable questions, especially in horror fandom. Why this film feels immature to some critics often calls it immature, lazy, unfortunate, but Raugan's mirror how hate crimes actually happens, how violence is shouted, how cruelty takes artistry. The film reviews smart evil because making it intelligent risk glamorizing it still intention doesn't always equal success. The biggest failure of the film is the honest critique. The movie doesn't not guide reflection. After trauma, it leaves viewers in angry, empty, defensive. Without reflection, discomforting turns into rejection. Okay, hatred of the films itself. That's why many viewers don't grow from it. They shut down. Why this film is often misunderstood. People ask what was the point, but the film's real question is why do you need one? It challenges the belief that suffering must teach in reality. Some violence is meaningless, some pain has no regression, some crimes leave only damage. That truth is hard to accept. Cinema versus reality. Cinema usually organizes chaos, makes pain legible, gives ending. Reality doesn't hate. Crime shows reality and satisfying cinema. That's the trade-off of this film. Accidentally speak to not horror fans, not casual viewers. It speaks to Richard's Sociologistic drama theoristic people studying representation of violence as art weak, as provocation strong. Why you are still asking for more because the films refuse closure, refuse explanation, refuse comfort. Your mind is trying to complete it. That's not an accident, it's unresolved psychological loop. The most honest final statement. This movie doesn't deserve praise, it doesn't deserve hate. Either it deserves serious discussions, which it rarely gets. One last line. Hate Crime 2012 is not a horror movie about violence. It's a movie about what happens when violence has no story. Alright, we all go one last layer deeper, but this time I'll slow it down and make it clean, structured, and conclusion so it actually lands, not just files on intensity. Hate Crime 2012 and the absolute core what the film is really about is of horror talk. This film is not about Nazis, not about Judaism, not even really about violence. It's about power without conjugation. That's the spine of the movie. The attackers face no resistance. The victims gains no agency. The camera gives no protection. The story gives no justice. Everything we usually rely on to balance cruelty and deliberately removed. The film's most uncomfortable truth. Most movies reassures us of one thing: this won't happen to you like this. Hate crimes refuse that reassurance. There's no mistakes that excuse it, no warning sign, no bad decision that explains it. The family doesn't do anything wrong that destroys the viewer's sense of safety because we instinctively look for a rule, a lesson, a prevention point. The film's dangers are there. Why the films feel emotionally unfair? Human expect fairness is stories. The film says fairness is a fantasy we use to sleep at night. That's why people react with rage rejection. This movie is pointless because pointless is other word of unfair without meaning. Hate Crime is a psychological thriller and drama that delves into the dark and disturbing issues surrounding hate crime, homophobia, and societal intolerance. Directed by Tommy Bartlett in the film's attempts to shed light on the societal prejudices and the devastating consequences they can have on individuals and communities. The film is set against a backdrop of intense emotionally and physically violence exploring the representation of hate derives its plot summary. The story revolves around a young man named Adams, played by Jazz Nims, who is a gay college student facing constant discrimination and hostility because of his. The films explore his personal struggles, the hostility he faced from peers, and the societal neglect that protects such hate crime. As the story unfolds, Adams becomes increasingly isolated, and the violence against him escalates, culmination in a brutal hate crime that changes his life forever. The narrative also examines the perspective of the perspectors, the victims, and the base standards, offering a multifaceted view of the complex social issue involved. Themes and message. Hate crime tackles several sensitivities themes: the destructive nature of hatred and bigotry, the impact of societal indifference toward marginalized groups, the emotional and physical tolls of violence on victims, the importance of awareness, acceptance, and activism. The films aim to raise awareness about hate crimes, emphasizes the needs for empathy and socially change. It highlights how prejudice can lead to tragic consequences and underscore the importance of standing against discrimination. Performance. The film's performance. The performance in hate crimes are both compelling and raw. Jesus Fields delivers a heartfelt portrayal of Adam, capturing his vulnerability, fear, and resilience. Supporting actors also contributed meaningfully, portraying characters who represent different facts of society, from the aggressive perspectives to the indifference. By understand the emotionally depth conveyed by the cast help to humanize the victims and has shed light on the real life ramifications of the hatred, violence. Director and cinematography. Tohn director is focused and intent on portraying the harsh realistic faced by victims of hate crimes. The film employs a gritty visual style with stark light and loss of shots that emphasize the emotional intensity of the scenes. The cinematography effectively conveys the atmosphere of fear, hostility, and despair, immersing viewers into the protagonist's world. critical reception. Hate crimes received mixed reviews from critics and audience alike. Man praised its courageous attempt to address a difficult and often overlooked subject. The film was lauded for its raw emotional performance and its honest portrayal of the devastating effect of hate crimes. However, some critics pointed out that the film's pacing couldn't be unbeknownst and its handling of certain scans like nouns was constantly veering into melodrama, converse and impact gives the sensitive subject matter said crimes sparked conversations about hate crimes, especially targeting LGBTQ plus communities, where it was praised for raising awareness. Some viewers felt that the films could have explored the broader social issue more deeply or provide more context for the characters' victims. Nonetheless, it remains a significant especially during LGBTQ community where the fast paced raising awareness. Some viewers felt the film could have explored the broader social issue more deeply or provide more context for the characters' action, explored the broader social issue more deeply or provide more context for the character's action. Nonetheless, it remains a significant work in the genre of social issue films aiming conclusion. Overall, Hate Crime to Tell is a thought-provoking film that confronts uncomfortable truth about societal hatred and violence. Its emotionally performance and unflinching look at hate crimes make it a challenge but important watch. It serves as a stark reminder of the destructive power of pre- prejudice and the urgent need for compassion and change within society. Certainty has an even hate crime 2012 in deep full movie review. Hate crime is provocative and emotionally charged film that aims to confront viewers with the brutal realistic of hate motivate violence, especially tragic at the LGBT plus community directed by Tommy Bertles. The film is part social commentary, part psychology drama, and part advocacy for understanding and change it seeks to shed light on the devastating consequences that hatred, ignorance, and intolerance can inflict upon individuals and society at large. Plot and narrative. The film centers around Adam, portrayed by Chas James, a young guy man attending college in a city riddled with prejudice and hostility. From the outset, the narrative stabilized Adam's vulnerability, his fears of, and the constant threat of violence lurking in his everyday life. The story is told through a mix of confrontational scans, flashback, and tense moments that build upon each other, illustrating the escalating hostility he faces as Adam navigates his daily life. He encounters various forms of discrimination, verbal abuse, social exclusion, and physically creates the films explore the emotional toll of this experience, capturing his feeling of isolation, fear, and despair when a violent hate comes erupts. The story reaches its harrowing throughout the film. The narrative also delves into perspective of perpetrator and bystanders, providing a nose look at the social environment that fosters such hatred. Some scans depict the various motivations for rooted in ignorance and prejudice, while others show the indifference or helplessness of bystanders who witness the violence but fail to intervene. Themes and social commentary. Hate crime tackles multiple layers of social issues, the destructive power of bigotry and prejudice, the social failure to protect vulnerable communities, the psychologically scarred effect on victims, the importance of anti-awareness and activism, the cycle of violence perpetuated by social indifference, but sympathism or deeper societal issues, homo- homophobia, racism, xenophobia, and system neglect. It urges viewers to reflect on their own attitude and the social structure that enable such violence. Characters development and performance. Chase James delivers a compelling and serious performance as Adam, convincingly portraying his character's emotionally vulnerability, realizing and ignoring for acceptance. The supporting cast includes characters representing various societal attitudes, some cruel, some empathic, and others passive. These portrayals add depth and realism to the narrative, illustrating the spectrums of humans' responses to hate and violence. The films also humanize the perpetrator, exploring their background and motivations, which helps avoid one's dimensions. Villain's portrayals his nuanced approach encourages viewers to think critically about the roots of hatred and the importance of education and empathy in preventing such acts. Direction, cinematography, and artist elements. To me, Wellness direction is deliberating and impactful, employing stars cinematography to evoke feeling of discomfort and urgency. The use of lighting and color, flatless darks, muted lines during violent of emotionally scans heightens the sense of dread and displays close-up shots effectively capture the characters raw emotionally, making the audience feel connected to their pain and fear. The film pacing is tight during the confrontation and violent scenes, but some viewers may find certain moments slow of drama out, particularly in the more introspective or dialogues heavy sequence. Despite his, the overall tone remains intense and viscerally conflicting viewers to comfort the uncomfortable truth. Presently, hate crimes received mixed reviews from critics and audience. Many praised its honesty, emotionally depth, and willingness to take a difficult subject matter. It was lauded for raising awareness about hate crimes, especially in the context of LGBTQ plus rights and safety. The performance, particularly Jess James' portrayals of Adams, were often lighthearted, was powerful and authentic. However, some critics pointed out that the film's handling of certain scenes often lacked subtlety, essentially veering into melodrama or being too raw or for some viewers. Tests others left that the films could have benefited from a broader exploration of the systemic issues behind hate crimes rather than focusing primarily on individual incidental culture and social signification. Given the ongoing prevalence of hate crimes worldwide, hate crime serves as an important cultural artifact and it aims to educate viewers about empathy and motivate social activism. The film contributed it conversating about LGBTQ plus right and hate crime legislation and understand so the importance of community support and legal protections. The film's release coincided with increased awareness, compassion, and discussion about hate crime legislation, making it a relevant piece for advocacy groups, educators, and policymakers. It also sparked debates about societal responsibility and the role of media in shaping perception about marginalized communities. Critique and limitations will hate crimes is un- undeniably impactful. It has certain limitations. Its raw and unflinching portrayals of violence may be distracting for some viewers, and its sometimes heavy-handed approach can detract from subtle storytelling. Additionally, some critics argue that the films couldn't have provided more context or explored the aftermath of hate crimes such as legal processing, community healing for victim support system. Conclusion: I am in summary, Hate Crime 2010 is a potent, emotionally charged film that deals of confront one of society's most troubling issues. It combines powerful performance, gritty visual, and compelling narrative to highlight the devastating effect of hatred and intolerance. While it may to be perfect in its execution, its message remains visual. Hates crime, destroying lives, but awareness and compassion can foster change. This film is recommended for viewers interested in social justice, human rights, and psychological dramas that challenge society norms and provokes meaningful reflection. Introduction: Hate Crime 2012 is powerful, thoughtful, provoking, and disturbing film that delves into the depth of hate's motivated violence. Directed by Tommy Barthelson, this film is not merely entertainment but a hard-hitting commentary of the state of society and the impact of hatred on individuals and communities. It is a cinematic experience that challenges viewers to confront their blessed and prejudices, fostering empathy and understanding. Plot: the story revolves around Lucas, a young man who moves to a new city in search of a fresh start. However, his sexual orientation becomes a catalyst for hatred and violence when he brutally. Sorry guys, my brother is very funny. He's making jokes, but I do not care. I review this movie review, so You continue with me. Release the most promising. Sorry, guys. Don't mind. Is mind weak? Really, the most prominent theme in the previous often deadly nature of that crimes, particularly those motivated by homophobia, transphobia, and hipphobia. The film shed light on the psychology impact of such crimes on families and loved ones, emphasizing the needs of support and advocacy. Other significant themes in the disturbing nature of ignorance and the importance of education and understanding in breaking down barriers. The film portrays characters who are unaware of the harm their words and actions can cause, highlighting in the need for empathy and open-mindedness. The character in hate crime 2012 are multi-dimensional and complex, each with their own struggle and motivation. Lucas, the protagonist, is symbolic of a hope and resilience in the face of adversity. His family, particularly his mother, is a powerful representation of the emotional and psychological trauma the family endures when a loved one is victimized by hate. The antagonist who commits the heinous crime is portrayed as a multi-dimensional character ending death. Through the narrative, his actions are not justified, but his backstory and motivation help in understanding the complexity of human nature and the factor hate that lead individual down a path of hatred. Cinematography and soundtrack. The cinematography in hate crimes is raw and unapologetic, capture the emotion and brutality of the event, unfold the use of close-ups and mediums, capturing emotional duality. Events unfold. The soundtrack complements the mood and tone of the film, adding to its emotional impact. It is a mix of melancholic and haunting melodies that resonate with the themes and emotions depicted on screen. Impact and receptions. Hate Crime 2012 has received critical acclaim for its thought-provoking and unflinching portrayals of hate crimes. The film has been praised for its ability to educate and raise awareness about the issue it tackles, while some have criticized the graphic nature of the context. Many have praised the films for its courage in confronting the uncomfortable advocacy and legacy. The film advocacy for understanding and acceptance of the LGBTQ plus community has been widely praised. It has sparked conversations about need for education, empathy, and support for individuals who are marginalized due to their orientation or gender identity. In conclusion, Hate Crime to the Trail is a powerful and thought-provoking film that challenges viewers to confront the realistic of hate crimes and their impact on families and communities. It is a call of active action, advocating for change and understanding as a film is disturbing but a commentary on society. It is a necessary and impactful work that contribute to the ongoing conversations about acceptance and equality. Additional discussion the context of hate crimes including those against the LGBTQ plus community are a preservation issue in many parts of the world. The increasing visibility and organization plus of the LGBTQ community have led to a risk in hate crime against them. These crimes are not just random acts of violence but are often motivated by a deep-seated hatred and ignorance that can be fueled by social norms and religious belief. The importance of representation matters especially in the media. Hate Crime 2012 providing a platform for the violence and story of the LGBTQ plus community, highlighting the struggle they face and the resilience they show in the face of adversity. By representing this community in a truthful and respectful manner, the film contributes to a more inclusive and empathetic understanding of the issue. The face the role of education. Education is a key tool in combating hate crimes by educating people about LGBTQ plus community, their struggle and their contribution or to society. We can foster a more accepting and inclusive environment. Hate crime to Roundtable serve as a powerful educational tool, encouraging viewers to learn more about the issue it tackles and to become advocates for change. Conclusion: Hate Crime 2012 is a film that leaves a lasting impact. It is not just a story about a tragic events but a commentary on the societal issues that lead to such events. It is a call to action, urging viewers to comfort their best to educate themselves and to advocate for change. As a film It is a necessary and impactful work that should be ignored. Hate Confidential is a powerful, thought-provoking and disturbing film that delves into the depth of hate-motivated violence. Directed by Tommy Butland, this film is not merely entertainment but a hard-hitting commentary of the state of society and the impact of hatred on individually and communities. It is a cinematic experience that challenges viewers to confront their bias and prejudices, fostering empathy and understanding. The plot story revolves around Yuka, a young Sege man who moves to a new city in search of fresh starts. Over his dreams of a peaceful life is shattered when he becomes the victim of a brutal hate crimes. The film takes a dark turn as Lucas' life hangs in the balance and the audience is taken on a journey of self-discovery, loss, and ultimately resilience. Cinematography and direction. Tommy Britney's directions is masterful, viewing a narrative that is both intimate and expansion. The cinematography captures the plainness of the urban landscape, highlighting the isolation and vulnerability of the characters. The use of lighting is particularly noteworthy, often plunging the viewers into darkness, symbolizing the despair and hopelessness that Lucas face performs their cast. The cast delivers standout performance, bringing depth and news to their respective characters. Nicholas Shario, who plays Lucas, is particularly impressive, convincing the emotionally turmoil of a man facing unimaginable tragedy. The supporting cast, including Keegan Allen as Lucas, finds and confidence, adds complexity to the narrative, highlighting the effect of hate crimes on families and communities. Themes. Hate crime explores several themes that are both timely and timeless. That films serves as a powerful indictment of of hate isolation, demonstrating how society norms and resolve can drive individuals to the fringe of society. Ultimately, the film suggests that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for healing and redemption. Socially commentary. The film is scathing critique of societal norms, and the way in which the producer hate and intolerance presents a script highlighting the systemic failures that allow hate crimes to occur and the ways in which victims are often left to suffer in silence. The film's portrayals of a justice system that is slow to respond it if it is particularly potent, underscoring the need for systemic dance impact. Hate Crime is a film that will leave viewers feeling disturbing, and perhaps even change it. He is powerful reminder of the importance of empathy, understanding, and compassion is breaking down barriers and fostering a more inclusive society. While the subject matter is undoubtedly difficult, the film's impact is undeniable, making it a must-see for anyone unconscious about the state of the world and the impact of hate of individuals. And yes, impact. Crime is a film that will leave viewers feeling disturbed, and perhaps even change it. Is a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy, understanding, and comparisons in breaking down barriers and fostering a more inclusive society. Will the subject matter is undoubtedly difficult, the film's impact is undeniable, making it a must-see for anyone concerned about the state of the world and the impact of hate on individuals and communities. Conclusions. In conclusion, hate crime is a masterpiece of filmmaking that leaves a lasting impression on viewers with its powerful narratives, masterful directions, and outstanding performance. It is a film that will stay with you long after the credits roll. Will it is undoubtedly difficult post films. Its impact is undeniable, making it a must-see for anyone concerned about the state of the world and the impact of hate on individuals and communities. Rating 5 stars, 5 points. Recommendation: Hate Crimes is a must-see for anyone interested in social justice, LGBTQ plus issue, for simple looking for a powerful and thought-provoking film's experience. Overview: distracting is advice due to the film's mature themes and graphics contact additional insurance national hate crime hotline anti-domination language W at law human rights campaigning recommendation for future viewing the Larmine projects a powerful play turned films about the murders of Matty Shepard, a gay college student, Milk, a biographical drama about Harvey Milk, the first openly gay man to be elected to public office in California. Back, Brokeback Mountain 2005, a romantic drama about a secret love affair between two cowboys in rural Wyoming. Additional information: hate crime was filmed on location is Los Angeles, California. The film's cast and crew worked closely with LGBTQ plus advocacy groups to ensure that the film was respectful and accurate in its portrayals of gay characters and issues. The film's score was composed by Peter Clovel, who was also worked on several other level films. Introduction and overview: hate crime is identified raw and emotional child film that confront on one of society's most troubling issues that motivated violence against the LGBTQ plus community. Directed by Tommy Pretzel, the film is not just the narratives about violence but profound explorations of hatred, bigotry, society, indifference, and the profound human cost of intolerance. At its core, it aims to educate, evoke empathy, and inspire change by shedding light on the brutality faced by victims of hate crimes and the ripple effects that such violence has on families, friends, and entire communities. Background and context: this film immersed in a societal context where hate crimes against LGBTQ plus individuals have persisted worldwide despite increased awareness and advocacy. It seeks to highlight the tragic consequences of hatred fueled by ignorance, prejudice, and societal normalization of bigotry. The films also underscore the importance legal normalization of bigotry. The films also underscore the importance of legal justice, society responsibility, and the urgent need for community support system to prevent such atrocities. Plot summary and narrative structure. Hate crime tells the story through a multi-layered narrative that shifts Witten's perspective and that of the victim's locus, a young gay man moving into a new city and the perspective of his grieving family and friends after his tragic death. The story begins with Lucas' hopeful move to the city, his aspirations, and the friendly interaction he initially enjoys. However, this optimism is stirred when he becomes the target of a brutal attack. The film then explores the aftermath of the crimes, the police investigation, the media coverage, and the emotion turmoil experienced by Lucas' families, especially his mother, who struggled to come to terms with her loss. Interwoven with less deaths are scans that depict the perpetrator's motivation, their environment, and the societal influence that contribute to their action. This layered storytelling approach creates an immersive experience that encourages viewers to see the complexity behind hate crimes rather than reducing them to simple acts of violence. Themes and message. Hate crime tackles numerous interconnected themes where prejudice and bigotry. The films expose love deeply ingrained societal prejudice can escalate into violence. It emphasizes that hate is often rooted in fear. Lucas' family, especially his mother, power of empty by showing different perspectives. The films advocates empty and understanding as tools to combat prejudice, societal responsibility. The film underscores the importance of societal and legal system in preventing hate crimes and supporting victims' resilience and hope despite the tragedy. The films also explore themes of resilience, community support, and hope for change and acceptance. Characters development and performance. The characters are richly developed, each represents different facts of the societal issue. Lucas played with sincerity and vulnerability. Lucas embodies hope, innocence, and the tragic victims of hate. His character's journey from optimism to victimization serves as the emotional core of the film. Lucas' mother portrayed powerfully. She is the emotionally anchor, portraying an intense mix of grief, anger, and desires for justice. Her characters symbolize the universal pain experienced by families after effect by hate crimes. The perpetrators their portrayal is used avoiding condemnation pillars stereotypes. Instead, they are depicted as product of their environment motivated by ignorance and societal influences. This complexity invited viewers to reflect one on the roots of hatred and the importance of education, supports characters and community members, and officially adds that context illustrating the varied response within society to hate crimes from indifference to active support. The performance across the board are compelling, authentic, and emotionally responsive. Bring to cinematography and visual style. Cinematography by Great Lesson is stark and impactful. The use of listening, color palettes, and short composition amplifies the emotional tone of each scan. Stark shadowly scans out feeling of fear, despair, and hopelessness will bring more intimate shots, draw viewers into the characters. Personal struggles, close-up shots are used effectively to capture raw emotions, making viewers feel the character's pain and vulnerability. The framing often isolates characters, emphasizing their loneliness and societal alienation. The visual style reinforces the narrative's emotional intensity and the gravity of the subject matter. Soundtrack and audio design. The soundtrack features haunting melodies, somber acoustic piece, and minimalistic scores that underscore the emotional weight of the story. The sound design amplifies moments of tension, shock, and grief, making the viewers feel immersed in the character's experience. The music complemented the visual perfectly. In the character's experience, the music complement the visual perfectly, hiding life one's emotional impact, realism, and graphic contrast. Hate crime does not shy away from depicting violence and its aftermath in graphic detail. This realism is crucial to conveying the horror of hate crimes and the urgent need for societal change. However, the graphic context is balanced with sensitivity, ensuring that it serves to educate, evoke empathy rather than exploit trauma, impact, and cultural significance. Education value. The film functions as a stark reminder of the devastating conjugations of hate and underscores the importance of education and awareness. It serves as an educational tool for school community groups and advocacy organizations aiming to foster understanding and prevent future violence. Social and political commentary, hate crime, critique, social, societal indifference, and the failure of legal system to adequately protect vulnerable populations. It highlights the necessity for strong hate crime legislation, better law enforcement response, and community-based interventions. Influence and representations. The film has been widely praised by critics, advocacy groups, and audience for its honesty and emotional depth. It has been used in various educational campaigns and discussions around LGBTQ plus right and hate crimes prevention. Some viewers have found it difficult to watch due to its graphic scenes, but most agree that these elements are vital for conveying the severity of hate crimes and inspire action. Broader societal context and reflection. Hate crime is more than a film, it's a social mirror. It compels viewers to confront uncomfortable truth about prejudice, violence, and social complexity. It challenges us to examine our own issues and the systemic issue that perpetuate discrimination. The films also invite reflection on the importance of allies, communities, supports, and activism. It underscores that change begins with awareness and compassion, and that every individual has a role to play in building a more inclusive society. Extended resource and social reading organizations supporting hate crime victims. The Trevor Project support Stop Hate UK, the National LGBTQ+ Task Force, books and documentaries, the Laramia Project by Moss Q. Femen, Paris is during 1990s. The new hits a story of fear and loathing America by Arthur Goldway. Legal framework federal hate crime laws in United States International Human Rights Convention of Discrimination's final thought and recommendation. If I watch this film, hate crime to Montreal is an essential watch for anyone committed to social justice, LGBTQ plus rights and human rights advocacy. It's a stark reminder of the real human cost of hatred and the critical importance of fostering empathy and understanding in society. Viewers' description due to its graphic portrays of violence and emotional intensity. Viewers' discrimination is strongly advised. It is a film that demands a respectful and contemplative viewing environment. In summary, this film is a call to action, a piece of social activism warped in cinematic storytelling. It's a stark but necessary reminder that hate crimes are just statistics, they are tragedies that devastate lives and communities. By confronting this reality, thought art can foster a movie compassion aware and inclusive future. Rating 5.1 star. A must watch for its impact and importance. Sorry guys. Sorry guys. 2 minutes wait. Okay. Sorry guys, sorry. Okay guys, I'm meeting you next video. Then you. Okay guys, tata. Let's go.